uh, where were we? Okay, we were launching an instance, and after just all the settings are same, we just need to create a security group is done. And clicking on, after clicking on advanced details, move all the way down to the user data. But this user data, this is a bootstrap scripting that I'm just going to write a few Linux commands, that the moment I'm going to launch my instance, all these commands get automatically executed. Okay, that's a bootstrap का वैसे मतलब क्या होता है? Boot means that when the system is going to boot, whatever commands you want to execute, so you can have all that commands executing the moment you start with the launching of the instance. Okay, so we can write the instances that yum update y yum install and system control, then start enable and echo command heading h1, and inside that written hello world, and then the host name. After that we are going to launch a html.html page. Okay, so this is how we are going to write the very easy commands. We are going to write this command and we're going to launch our first instance. Done. So let's use this data has already been base of and code. Okay, launch the instance. You have opted for the new launch experience. Find out more. Okay, successfully
Should we
initiated launch.
paste the code there?
1 second, someone is speaking. Yes, please paste it here. Give me a second बेटा. ये shell scripting का कुछ command है. I'm going to paste it here. Okay. Okay, so we are going to launch it and view all instances. We need to click on view all instances. Okay, so let's refresh the page once. So can you see the instance beta now? The instance is going to be in a running state. Now once the instance is going to be in a running state, you can see we have got the public IPv4 address 100 24 18 133. Okay, and the private IPv4 address is this one. So we have got these two addresses, and I was saying the moment if I'm going to terminate or stop this instance, if I'm going to relaunch it, so public IP address this is going to change, but the private IP address which is going to be communicating for the internal nodes, internal instances, if they are going to communicate with each other, it is not going to change. Okay, now let's start with the move down. So VPC ID is there, v4 subnet ID,
Excuse
then
me, sir.
yes.
Sir, I have done the same, but my instance got failed when
इंस्टेंस गॉट फेल्ड मतलब
yes, sir.
लॉन्च नहीं हुई.
No, sir. Launch नहीं हुआ.
दिखाओ, शेयर द स्क्रीन एंड शो मी.
Yes, sir. 1 minute. Only 1 minute. Sir, is it visible?
uh, Instance, the account is currently blocked and not recognized as a valid account. Please contact AWS verification if you have a questions. No verified नहीं हुआ बेटा. आप कहाँ से कर रहे हो ये? आपका root user है या IAM user है?
Sir, root user है.
Root user is not verified बेटा. ये first time I have seen this. Account is currently blocked and is not recognized as a valid account. Please connect AWS verification at Amazon if you have any questions. Launching, initializing request done, creating security group is done, creation of the successful group done, launch is failed. Have you tried retry failed tasks? Click on the retry failed tasks. Not showing. Added instance config. Open this.
Yes, sir.
Scroll down. Okay. Retail 64-bit T2 micro. Keep your login. Come down. Keep your login. But click on keep your login.
Sir, this one.
No, no, drop down, drop down, drop down. Yes, new pair where you have written new pair. Acha, chalo. Create a new key pair.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
So here I can put any name, na?
Ha. Put it key pair one. Type it simply key pair one. Key pair one. Okay.
Yes.
This is better. Okay. Tell me which operating system and which version of Windows you are using.
Sir, Windows 7.
Windows 7.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Click on PPK. Bit of Windows 7. I think this will not work in Windows 7 directly. Yes. Click on PPK for use with the putty. Yes. Create. Okay. This is downloaded. Done.
Yes, sir.
Nothing. IP. No need to do anything. Yes. This account currently blocked and not recognized a valid account. Please contact AWS. But there's some issues in the account because of which it is not taking. Is anyone else facing the same issue?
Sir, I
Account
am
is blocked.
facing the same issue, sir. But when once I click on checkbox, after that my instance runs.
Vishal, I'm not getting the point, beta. What are you saying?
सर मेरे साथ भी यही हो रहा था फिर मैंने वो वहां पे जो इंस्टेंस के पास चेक बॉक्स आ रहा है ना कोड लिखने के बाद नीचे में
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
बॉक्स वो बॉक्स पे मैंने क्लिक किया था फिर वो उसने एरर दे दिया और वही जब बॉक्स का क्लिक मैंने हटा दिया फिर मेरा रन कर गया
बेटा लिखा क्या था उस चेक बॉक्स पे? मैंने ध्यान नहीं दिया. क्या लिखा चेक बॉक्स पे?
एक मिनट सर बताते हैं.
नहीं, दैट शुड नॉट बी एन इशू. देयर इज अ अकाउंट
User data
वेरिफिकेशन,
has
कुछ ऐसा इशू, वो तो एरर है.
ऐसा रहता है. User data has already been base 64 encoded.
ये सर और बेस 64 का ही एरर आ रहा था
हम्म, अच्छा विशाल बेटा, आप अपना स्क्रीन शेयर करके दिखा सकते हैं मेरे को एक बार?
सर मेरा इंस्टेंस रन हो गया तो भी शायद वो वाली चीजें नहीं
वो
दिखाएगी
नहीं आएगा. हाँ, अभी वो वापस से यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू सी दैट सेम. अगर इफ यू आर गोइंग टू क्रिएट द न्यू इंस्टेंस देन यू विल बी एबल टू सी दैट. ओके,
यस
चलो कोई बात नहीं. दिस इज किसका इशू आ रहा है? अजीत आपका?
Yes, sir.
Ajit, we need to figure it out, beta, what the issue is. Let's complete this one, then we'll come back to this one. Okay,
Okay,
whatever the
sir.
issue is. So, then we need to click. Is my screen visible? Okay, resume presenting. Just give me a second. So, under security, there are security groups. This is port ranges and security. Every traffic that is going to originate and come back, this is using the port number 22. Source can be anything. So any on HTTP, anything can be there that can come. Okay. Port range as for security group, rule ID and protocols, all this destination is all. So everything is good at this point. So public IPv4, open the address, private IPv4, VPC ID. Okay. Status check. This is done. So we can type it the public IP address. So details, go to the public IP address. Now copy this one or open the address. When you click on this one, open address, it is going to take you to the new page. Let's me open it in the new page. It is loading.
Sir, new page is not visible.
It is not visible. Still loading. So, beta सभी कैसे ही है? It is not loading. Still it is circling. So
Yes,
unresponsive page http colon and double slash. Just give me a second. http colon double slash. Give me a second. Copied. http colon so your instance should load. It is getting some error, but is there anyone who has got this? So it's saying that site cannot be reached when we open the address. Okay, yes, same. It's showing site cannot be reached, because simply it is not going to open like this. We need to include the http, but I'm including the http before this, this url, before this ip, then it should work. So that means there's some part we need to change in the. Give me a second.
HTTP लगा के भी नहीं हो रहा सर,
htt
उसको लगा के भी नहीं हो रहा है.
उसको http के साथ भी नहीं हो रहा. यस. So restart it. So public IP will change. So this time IP, public IP has changed. Copied. Okay, so that means the bootstrap script beta that we have written, so it's not functioning properly. Okay, at last in the user data in the comment section also that might have paste. So this bootstrap script, this is not functioning properly. Let's see what's wrong in bin bash update and then install systemctl start systemctl enable echo h1 hello world from hostname f h1 where. So this is correct. Okay, so but instead of just looking for the error where it is, I'll be sorting this out. In the meanwhile, let's continue with our further topic. Okay, we'll at the end of this session, at the end of this, before closing this session, we'll try it once again. And this is what we have been see this particular instance by writing the user script bootstrap script, we can launch the instance. Okay, so this is one of the way of launching the instance, and this is one of the most popular AWS offering that we have seen in the last clouds. And this is used for renting the virtual machine for storing the data or on the virtual devices, or for the load balancing if you want to have the load balancing. So for that purpose also this EC2 instances can be used, or for the scaling purpose also we can use the auto scaling group, which is called as the ASG, another one of the important offering for the EC2. Okay, Now, knowing that EC2 fundamentals, that how cloud is going to work, this is going to determine that how good you can how good you are at launching an instances and how good you are at installing the virtual servers. Now, this EC2 is going to have some kind of user data. Okay, now this user data is going to provide with the bootstrap of instancing using the user data scripts, and this bootstrap, as I've told you, is going to for launching the commands, and a machine, when the machine is going to start, at that point of time these commands are going to execute, and moreover this is going to run only for once, not after that, because it is a bootstrap. As the name indicates, it is going to launch at the very first time when the machine is going to start. Okay, now you can write at this point, since we were trying to write the command for launching one of the website or the servers, so here we can write any commands related to any, suppose the machine is going to start, you want to download or have updates sent to the users, you can write for the bootstrap commands for that, for installing the softwares, for downloading the common files, or anything you can ever think of, you can write it as the bootstrap files. Okay, now this EC2 user data runs on the root user, so whatever the root user you have for EC2 user data script will be running on that root users. Now, EC2 instance, how we can run, will be launching the instance as we have seen it. So in this we have various different instances. Okay, so instances is what we have seen it already. Now, batch processing workload is also one of the important. Optimize compute, optimize instance of the EC2 is for the batch processing workload, for the media transcoding, and for the high performance the web server. Suppose if you want to have the you are running on the very heavy uh, intense workloads are there that you want to run, for that case you need to have the transcoding. Media transcoding is going to be the all the media work that happens if you are having the very heavy softwares. You can create the machines and you can run it over there without impacting your physical devices. It is going to have the high performance web servers as well. Okay, let me get it back. So cancel. Okay, so this is what the instance types, that is, first one is the compute optimized. Okay, so if there's a computational work that is going on, and if you want to optimize the computational work, अब computational work बेटा किसी भी तरीके से हो सकता है. Batch processing can be one of the computational, media transcoding can be another computational work, high performance web server. Suppose you have been using some e-commerce website, like it can be your Flipkart or Amazon or any such websites which needs to be available 24/7. Their availability needs to be 24/7, and they needs to be very high performing servers. So in that case you can launch the web service there. Then we have the high performance computings. Okay, so like suppose NASA is going to have some of the computing performances, or even any other the company that is going to have lot of research work going on, or if it is a weather forecasting, you have a very large data for the pressure, for the temperature, you're going to calculate, lot of mathematical calculations are going to work. So high computing machines for the HPCs, you can have this different type of instances. Okay, then scientific modeling, machine learnings, and all the dedicated gaming servers with the very high graphics. For that purpose you can use this instance types. And what are those compute optimized instance types? It is C6G, but that starts with the compute optimized starts for the C6G. So whatever C6G optimizations you can see, that all form under the compute optimization. So let me open on the Google Amazon website. This is, see, I have compute optimized instances. Okay, and let's have this one instead. Okay, so compute optimized, we were talking for the C6G, but or C7G. Now there is a updated version. So if you might have seen in the slides, we have seen C6G. So that was the latest one, 6 months before. But now they have released another one for the compute optimized, which is going to be C7G. Okay, now C7G powerful for the custom built AWS Gavelinator processors. For all this, we are going to use the C7G, C6. That means all the C series, C6, C6, C6i, C6a, and C5, C5a, C5n, C4. So all these are the generations starting for the compute, because this is compute. So all the generations are starting from the C. So this is going to be our compute optimized. The instances are going to be there. Then comes the second one is the memory optimized. Okay, so for the memory optimized, we need to have the fast performance for the workload that process large data sets in the memory. Memory optimized बेटा कौन सी organizations को चाहिए होगा? Memory optimization is so that the processing is extremely fast and at the same time it is going to consume the lesser memory. So जैसे कि Netflix है, but Netflix जब अपना cloud services they will be availing, their prime focus was not to process that data. Their prime focus will be to have the memory optimization so that the user can get the data extremely fast, and at the same time the data needs to be absolutely consuming the minimum amount of memory required. So that should be the constraints when Netflix or any such the organizations which have a lot of data, they are putting it onto the cloud. This will be the prime area where they'll be working on. Okay, so fast performance of the workload and processes large data sets in the memory. So these are the two cases where the memory optimization is going to work. Okay, and the relational and non-relational databases or distributed web scale cache memory जो होता है, cache storages होती हैं. So in memory databases and all the real-time processing of the big unstructured data. So whatever data you have for the big unstructured data, if they're going to have it, so all the processings are going to happen in this case. So this all the memory optimized instances are going to start with the R. So R6G, R6i, R5, and all you'll see this, or it is starting with X2GT, and these are all the families of the memory optimization instances. Okay, now the latest one that is working right now is R6G, and need not to explain, we have already seen this in the yesterday's class as well, that the instance type correspondingly how much CPU, how much memories instances we are going to have. So according to the network bandwidth, you'll be having this one. Instance storage EBS elastic beanstalk, so you'll have the traditional storage only. So this is low performing one. So EBS storage up to this much. So if you are going to use any one for the memory optimization, if you're going to pay less, so of course, but I need not to mention this, that all these services are paid. So this instance is also paid, this is also paid. So this R6G medium, this will be slightly cheaper as compared to R6G large, R6G extra large, R6G 2 times extra large, R6G 4 times extra large, 8 times 12, 16. So as the size is going to increase for the instance, the number of CPUs that are provided 1, 4, 6, 8, 32 or CPUs are going to increase. So is the memory and so is the network bandwidth. Okay. Now, when you move on to the R6GT, but here you will observe a major change, that you will not be using the memory that is EBS based. It is going to use the NVIDIA NVMe SSD. So it is going to perform the storage which is divided, which is actually your SSD storage. Okay. So coming after this, the storage optimized, but the third one is going to be the storage optimized. Let's move back to the storage optimized. The first thing is storage optimized instances are going to start with I for optimized. For it is going to start with IM 4th generation, IS 4th generation, I4, I3, I3rd generation, D2, and all these are going to be basically for the storage optimized. Okay. So for storage optimized, high frequency online transaction. Suppose any banking servers or any such frequencies, the high frequencies transactions that are going to happen, it is going to use the this storage optimized, like OLTP, online transaction processing tools, is going to use this high performance storage optimized instances. Okay, then relationals and NoSQL databases, and for example the data warehouse applications or the distributed file systems. So all these are going to be your all these are going to be dependent upon the storage optimization. Okay, then introduction to the security groups. But the next thing that we'll be discussing, the introduction to security groups. Let me move back and let's have introduction to security groups. Okay, so in introduction to the security groups, but a group is okay, group is something that we are going to combine multiple things. ये हमें पता है. Security group means one security group can have the multiple instances into it. If multiple instances are going to behave in a similar way, we can create the security group. Okay, so while creation of the instance, we have seen that when we were creating the instances, where there we have got this option of creation of security group. Okay, when the launch wizard was there. Okay, now these security groups are the fundamental networking security in the AWS. So whenever you are going to use not only beta EC2 instance, whatever services you are going to use, there is always going to be attached a security along with it. Okay, and how the security is going to be monitored. Now for example, beta, here you will see that this orange color, this is one of the instance that I've created. Now after this instance, they have wrapped a security. Okay, those security group is wrapped inside this. Now this outline of black color that you see, this is the security group. That means you cannot communicate with EC2 instance without the security group permission. So security group act as a shield or it acts as a firewall. ठीक है, जो security group था बेटा वो एक firewall की तरह act करेगा. So www means all the traffic from outside world, if they want to have a inbound traffic or outbound traffic, they cannot be surpassed without the security group. Now what is the security group? These are simply the conditions which allows us to perform some of the task and which restrict some of the task. ठीक है, तो सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप में बेटा कुछ नहीं है, इसमें सिर्फ ये स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, व्हाट इज अलाउड एंड व्हाट इज नॉट अलाउड. सो दैट फॉर्म्स अ सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप. Okay, so security groups only contain the allow statements. Okay, so whatever services I want allowed, that कुछ एक ऐसी वेबसाइट या कुछ एक ऐसा ट्रैफिक फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड that I don't want to reach at EC2 instance, I'll block it. That will not be there. Or outbound traffic, I can simply allow certain category of outbound traffic to reach to the outside world. So this is what a security group is going to helps us and provides us the knowledge with. And security groups can be referenced by this IP or by the security group. Okay, so you can refer it using the either the IPs or the security group. Now security group deep dive. Now we might have seen this HTTP, SSH or the custom TCP route. So these are the different types of securities that are there. Protocol they are going to use is TCP. Port range is very important. Okay, जो आपका बेटा SSH है वो always that is going to use the port number 22. HTTP हमेशा आपका जो port use करेगा वो 80 use करेगा. Okay, and SSH is the source is going to be, this is the source of the SSH. Source means this is going to be the IP of the instance that has been created. Okay, and this HTTP, so it is 0000. That means any of the IP can communicate using the port 80 using the HTTP server. So test HTTP page is one of the description of this. So it is written security groups are acting as the firewall. ये हमने last line में but already we have seen this. It acts as a firewall on all the EC2 instances. Okay, and it is mandatory. You need to have a security group before you launch any instance. So it is mandatory. You need to include any of the security groups. So either if you are not aware what are the things that are allowed and what are the things that you need to restrict, you can simply have the default security group. Okay, but your instance should not be launched without security group. If you cannot create the custom security groups, try to keep it as the default one, but it is important to include one of the security groups. Okay, now it is going to assess the ports that security group is going to regulate access to the port. So port 80, port 22, port 4567. So this is the custom one. You can have any port. So access to the port is restricted by the security groups. It authorizes IP ranges that whether IPv4, IPv6 is going to be allowed to communicate with their EC2 instance. It controls the inbound traffic. It controls the outbound traffic. Okay, inbound is from the other instance to the instance, or outbound is from the one instance to the outer instance or the other instances. So this is how the security groups is going to helps in the securing data. But the same security group diagram is shown. So picture, you can see it and you can try to understand how the security groups is going to restrict and how it is going to allow. Read it once, but try to get the idea from this.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, beta.
सर ये जो सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप्स है उसका IPv4 और IPv6 रेंज पे दोनों पे तो अलग अलग काम करेगा.
हाँ, दिस इज व्हाट बेटा द पॉइंट इज, वी कैन रिस्ट्रिक्ट इट. कि मान लो कि अगर आपका IPv4 पे सेट है एंड यू वांट टू रिस्ट्रिक्ट दैट नन ऑफ द IP व्हिच इज कमिंग फ्रॉम IPv6 जो IP एड्रेस है, you don't want to have a communication with that address, so you can restrict it or you can allow it. ठीक है, so this is how you can have the permissions there. Okay, so I hope better you might have read this security groups, and you will see there is a blue color instances there. Security groups are there, multiple security group for the inbound, outbound. You'll have the multiple security groups. Group 1 and group 2, 1 is given, and group 1 inbound and group 1 outbound is given. So this security group is going to define the rules for the traffic that are going to come inside the ET2 instance. Okay, and this second one, security group 1 outbound, is going to define what are the communications that are going to happen from EC2 instance to the outer world. Okay, so it is going to filter IP, port wise rules are there. Filter IP means it is going to filter all those IP addresses that are not communicating to the dedicated port. यानी कि सिर्फ वही IPs allow होंगे बेटा जो 22 पोर्ट के साथ that are connected and that are following the rules. Like this port 22, your computer IP authorized port 22. Okay, so if it is authorized, it is going to surpass this security group and it is going to communicate. And any other computer which is not which is the whose IP address is not allowed to do this, so it is going to filter the IP address for the other computers and it is not going to allow for the communication with the EC2 instance. Okay, similarly for the output, so filter IP, and if any port is given, so www any port for you can have the communication with the outer IP addresses, but you are going to restrict the inward movement. Okay, inbound traffic you can restrict. Now, security groups, good to know some of the points that you need to keep in mind while understanding these security groups, can be attached to the multiple instances. One security group, like launch wizard ke andar, there are multiple security groups, or you can create your own security groups that can be attached to the multiple instances. Suppose you have created 10 instances or 20 instances, virtual machines you have created, and you want to have the same security applied to all of them. So one group can have the multiple instances. ये हमने first slide में पढ़ा था. Groups का मतलब ये है कि once you have created the group, it can be applied to the multiple instances. So it can be looked down upon that. So lockdown to the region or VPC combination. So if you have created the security group which can be applicable to one of the region or one of the VPC, or the combination of these two can be seen there. So might be the case the one of the security groups that you have created in one of the region might not work actually in the another region. So does live outside the EC2. If the traffic is blocked, EC2 instance won't see it. Okay, so it is going to act like as shell. Okay, so whatever traffic EC2 can see, it is only the inbound or the traffic which is allowed to surpass through the security group. Only that traffic EC2 is going to see, and it is going to believe that the only that much traffic is available. Okay, that means does live outside the EC2. If traffic is blocked, the EC2 instance won't see it. That means EC2 के बाहर बेटा जो भी traffic that you're going to block, EC2 instance will never be able to see that traffic. Okay, it is good to maintain one separate security group for SSH access. So that's a common good practice that you need to keep a separate security group which contains all the SSH accesses, which is going to assess your port number 22. Okay. Now, if your application is not accessible, timeout, then it is a security group issue. So we are stuck at this point of time. If your application is not accessible, if it shows timeout, then it is a security group issue. So we'll be resolving that. So if your application gives a connection refuse error, then application error or it is not launched. So we are not accessible. It's a timeout. So that means we have an issue with the security group and we need to resolve that. So all inbound traffic is blocked by default and all outbound traffic is authorized by default. Okay, so let's try to create better. Let's try to have once again. So I'm going to try again once. Let's see if we have made a mistake somewhere. We'll create another instance. This is terminated. Okay, so launch instance. Let's click on launch another. Instance 1. You can click on instance 1 or one of the point is there. Then application, you'll have the AWS. Okay, then the next one, so instance type, we need to keep it as a T2 micro. Then Next one is use the key pair. So this is the point where we need to be very clear. Okay, so last time we had been stuck. The network setting enable. But last, do we have clicked on this one? Allow HTTP traffic from the internet. क्या हमने last time इसको click किया था? So this is
No, sir.
No.
बस वही तो यही issue है बेटा. We have not clicked allow HTTP traffic from the internet. ठीक है? To set up an endpoint, for example, when creating a web server. ठीक है? So this is required. और देख लो अच्छे से. Routes and configuration, then once EBS volume, file system. User data. Let me get it. अच्छा, आप ये बोल रहे थे यूजर डेटा हैज ऑलरेडी बीन बेस 64 एनकोड. This is what you were saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is not required even if you will not click there. Free tier eligible launch. Okay. Let's go to this instance one. Day2 micro status check is initializing. I hope this works this time. Let's click on this. Security. So you can click on the security groups to see what are. Okay, so when you click on this security group, beta abhi humne PPT ke andar we have seen the security group. So launch wizard, this is a default security group that is being created, and in this security group ka name aa gaya beta, security group ka ID aa gaya, description aa gaya, and owner is there, inbound rule, 2 permissions are there. Okay, कौन से 2 permissions है, I'll show you in one. Outbound rules is only 1 permission. So let's move back and see. So you'll see IPv4 and HTTP and SSH, inbound and outbound. But it is going to, for SSH it is going to use the 22 port, and for the outbound you can it is going to use the port number 80. Okay, so it is there, you can check it. So after this you can simply try to relaunch. Let's copy this one. It can't. Just hold on. Is there anyone who is able to run this instance? चला नहीं चला. Everything is correct.
Sir, what's that option of connect over there?
Just give me a second. Yes. बताओ बेटा, what's the question?
What does this connect option do?
कहाँ पे connect?
सर ऊपर है जो instant state के पास.
So you can simply connect that instance. You can connect it from there. But since we have used only HTTP server, which is going to use the port number 22, so we are copy pasting the link in order to connect it, because we don't have directly as it is connection established with any of the another instances. Suppose we want to click multiple check boxes here, हम इनको click करके we can connect it using the private IP address. They can connect with each other. So that's an option. Will not be able to do in this way otherwise. So security group. Run reachability analyzer. Let's try to do this. Everything is okay. Inbound, outbound rules. status checks 2 by but we need to see it if it is not working, because everything is right now. We have got all the settings. Still, this is not working. Okay. So why I am at this Virginia? How it has changed to Virginia Asian Pacific. Okay. So better the moment I change it to the Mumbai, all my instances are gone. That comes to the another conclusion that the have instances are region specific. Okay. So we were working inside the US East North Virginia. So I want to limit it to Mumbai. So better let's instance. Terminate this one. But are you guys creating the instance in the region Mumbai, or do you have any other region? Please tell me.
Sir, Mumbai.
Mumbai में वर्जीनिया बेटा हो सकता है कि that it's not working. Who is created instance in the Mumbai region?
Sir, me.
Vishal.
But
And
not
whether you have created it in IAM profile or the root account?
sir, root account.
बेटा करो एक बार execute. Show us, share the screen and show me. वर्जीनिया नहीं होना चाहिए था यहाँ पे. But show me, share the screen and show me once. Vishal, you have done it.
Sir, is it visible?
Instance 1, okay.
Yes.
Status check is initializing. रुक जाओ अभी बेटा पूरा जो आपका है ना, so it is still initializing. Instance 1 status is initializing. Let it be complete. Instance चल रही है, status check complete होने दो. It is still initializing. Then try to execute. In the meanwhile, the status check is initializing. Open the security. But open the security and see the SSH. Security. ठीक है. Inbound is done. Launch wizard 3. Everything is done. So basically we need to have a HTTP. That is important because we want
Yes,
to connect it to the outside nodes. HTTP is there. Port 808022. This is fine. Okay, move back and see if it is initialized. Still is initializing.
Still initializing.
So security check 2 by 2, 1 by 2 will be passed. Then try to execute. Better refresh this once. Refresh the page.
Now it's paused. It looks the side can't be reached.
Ritu Singh not working. Not working site can't be reached. Okay. Okay. No issues, but you can stop the screen share. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
We are still not able to resolve this. Don't worry, we'll come back to this one. So in the meanwhile, let's continue with the topic that we were discussing already. So let's continue. Okay. So, but we have seen already what is the security groups. We have seen the SSH, we have seen the TCP, and we have already seen the HTTP is going to have the different ports we have seen, and 80 port is used by the HTTP, and for SSH we are going to use the port number 22, and the custom TCP rules also we can generate. So we have seen that. Now, the another security groups as there, so that is going to be here. So you can see other security groups diagram that there are few instances security groups, authorized security group 1 and 2 is there. So if the port number that are already attached to this security group, so suppose this is a security group and the port number 123 for this is going to be for instance EC2. For these IP address, these are going to be the ports number that are attached to the security group, so only that will be allowed to surpass. And if any of the security group that is not the part of this security group, okay, so that means see, but this is security group which further is going to authorizing the security group. तो ये एक security group है one which is authorizing security group one, this one and this one. So that means this yellow color box is authorizing this security group and this security group, but it is not authorizing this security group. So every instance is going to have a security group attached. So every instance is going to have a security group attached to it. But this is also instance security group attached. This is instance security group attached. This is also EC2 instance security group, EC2 security group. That means every EC2 instance will be attached with the security group. बेटा अब इस वाला EC2 और ये वाला EC2 इंस्टेंस आपस में कैसे कम्युनिकेट कर सकते हैं? हाउ दीज टू EC2 instances can communicate with each other if both their security groups are compatible, and if they allow both the security groups to surpass them, then only they can go this. Now this security group allows these security groups, but this does not allow the third security group. So only these of the two are going to pass. Now port number 123 randomly, for example, this is given. You can write the custom port numbers. You might have seen here. I have shown you in the previous. If you write the custom TCP rule, but यहाँ पे आप custom source में when you write the custom the IP address, only that IP address will be allowed to pass from this. So port number is given. So custom port number and custom IP addresses you can allow, which will be allowed to pass from the security groups. Okay. Now classic ports to know. So these are very important. You might have read this already, but these are important. ये आपको बेटा verbally याद होनी चाहिए कि जो secure shell है SSH वो कौन सा port use करता है for communication 22, file transfer protocol FTP use 21, SFTP file transfer protocol secure file transfer 20, HTTP 80, PS जो secure वाला है HTTPS it uses 443 and जो remote desktop protocol है RDP use 3389 to log into the Windows interface. So these are the few of the port numbers that needs to be learnt by heart, and these port numbers needs to be on your tips. Okay, so the questions related to this can be asked anytime, anywhere. That tell me the port number that is going to be used for secure HTTPS. So it is going to be 443. Okay, so that is important. Now coming on SS summary table. Now, beta, since I was telling you for window less than 10, window greater than 10, I was telling you that if for using SSH, if you have the Mac operating system, so on SSH works absolutely fine on the Mac, and you can connect the EC2 instance with this one. So put is not required. So this is the another one party that is required in case you have the Windows version which is less than 10. So if you have the Linux operating system, no need to install any putty. So direct SSH and EC2 instance is going to work. But if it is the Windows less than 10, but this is what I was talking about. If you have the Windows less than 10, directly SSH is not going to work. Okay, directly SSH is not going to work. In that case, you need to install putty. Okay, you can simply Google and you'll be getting the executable file. But it is simple than installation. एक सॉफ्टवेयर होगा पुट्टी का, you need to install it in order to work for the SSH. So if you install this putty, then EC2 connect instance can work absolutely fine. But if you have the Windows which is greater than or equal to 10, so the support for using the SSH for port number 22, if you have a Windows version which is greater than or equal to 10, so even with the putty it is going to work. Even without putty, this is going to work. That means EC2 instance connect can work for all three of the cases. Okay. Now, so you might ask, sir, okay, if we have discussed SSH, we know already this is the port with which the communication is going to happen internally. Putty also we understand that this is the third party software for the Windows which is having the version less than 10. In that case, if the SSH, the communication wants to take place, so we need to install it. But what is this EC2 instance connect? What is those EC2 instance connect? बेटा सपोज बट जैसे मैंने आपको बताया था कि in case you have the command line interface for the operating system, but if you don't want to use the command line for the operating system, you can simply use the cloud shell provided by the AWS. Similarly, बेटा अगर आपको putty install नहीं करना है, if you don't want to install this putty onto your machine, you can simply use EC2 instance connect. This is one of the feature provided by EC2. It works on the Mac, Linux, window less than 10, window greater than 10. No matter what operating system you're going to use, this AWS method for connecting instances, EC2 Instant Connect, this works in every case. Okay. So either you work with this one, or if you don't want to work with this, you can simply use the features or the functionality like Cloud Shell was provided by the AWS. EC2 Instance Connect is also one of the functionality that is provided by the AWS itself for all the operating system that might support or might not support. Kuch ऐसे operating system that might not support. For this, we can use this Instance Connect. Okay. Now, which okay, this is not required. Okay, troubleshooting. Linux and Mac OS. Okay, we need to see this in the. We'll see this in the upcoming classes. Stop presenting. Okay, so then we need to see the rest of the topics, but I will see in our next class. And but I have observed one thing. There are few students that those who join the class, then they leave it, then they rejoin it. But in that case, the calculation of attendance becomes really difficult to manage. कि आपने कब join किया था, कब session leave किया था, फिर कब join किया था. So I'll request you to, once you join the session, you stay there for the entire 2 hour session, so that you can get the proper attendance. Okay, so that's another point. So apart from this, but if you have any other doubt, you can ask me the questions or the queries. If you have been practicing this,
Sir,
So
yes.
please share these PPTs.
क्या बेटा क्या बोल रहे हो?
So please share these PPTs.
Okay. So I have not been sharing this as of now because but आपकी Monday से Friday तक classes हैं. So I need to add few कुछ एक चीजें इसमें पुरानी है. I need to modify this one actually. So कुछ चीजें इसमें से निकालनी पड़ेंगी बेटा, कुछ डालनी पड़ेंगी. So what I'll do, whatever we are going to study from Monday to Friday, I'll drop a PDF document on Saturday. मैं WhatsApp group के अंदर Saturday को पूरे week का जितना भी content होगा और पूरे week का content I'll drop it on Saturdays. Okay, so don't worry, this is for your understanding. You'll get this data and you'll get this notes.
Excuse me, sir.
ये कौन बोला? अजीत? Yes
Ajit.
बेटा. Yes
Sir, वो my account was blocked and the reason it was showing that it was blocked due to inactivity.
inactivity कल तो बेटा अभी create किया हुआ है.
सर उसके पहले 2 months पहले क्रिएट किए थे, वो एक वेब सर्वर पे कुछ काम था तो उसके
अच्छा,
रिलेटेड, तो
अच्छा.
1 month से एक्टिव नहीं था.
ओके ओके ओके.
तो सर ऐसे मेल तो वो लोग को कर दिए हम,
हाँ हाँ.
लेकिन ये कर सकते कि